Hello, hello. Welcome to the sunroom. This is a place that is usually filled with wonderful plants during the springtime. It's honestly the sexiest part of my entire house, and it's also the place where I shoot those outside shots of the entire yard. So from here, I'm able to view the garden. But you're not here to hear about that. You are here because I have released a coloring book. I am so excited to be able to announce this to you because it's something that I've wanted to do ever since I really started the channel. A couple things are very important to me in this gardening space. Number one, it's teaching people about gardening, encouraging home gardening, small plot gardening, because I think everybody should be doing it if they have the space and the time. And number two, it's getting kids into gardening. I moved around a lot as a child. I had a pretty rough childhood. And my sister and I, we bounced around. And in no space, except for one, was there ever a garden around. I had this neighbor who was this older lady, and she had a very small garden, but I loved just being around it. And I think that if I was around gardens more, I would have picked up the inclination to do it myself a bit earlier, than my 30s. So I just really would like to encourage kids to get into gardening. I want to encourage you, if you were around kids, your own nephews, anything, if you're around children and you're a gardener, just show them how cool gardening can be. I think it's very important for children to understand where their food comes from. And this, in small part, is for ages 0 to 5. And it's really just to get their eyeballs on actual food. Why aren't the media that these kids consume? Nothing has to do with gardening. And I figure, why not at a young age produce something on that same drive? So this book is ABCs in the garden. Goes through a full day in the garden and, of course, a full ABCs. You start off with your wonderful family getting into a garden, and it's just filled with beautiful pictures of young children getting out in the field. I would love to see photos of children just scribbling in this book and observing and practicing their ABCs, of course. Everything in here has to do with the garden. So just getting them used to the names, the way it looks, just things and kids that look like them. It's something that I just never seen as a child. And because I have the opportunity to produce such a product, it's something that I wanted to do. So if you care to buy it, it is available on Amazon. It goes for $13.63. I make $5 out of that. It's not about the money. It's really about being able to provide my audience with something that I believe is important. I am also here to introduce the debut of my Patreon page. There were a few people who had asked me if I had a Patreon or any type of way to where you wonderful viewers could support me with very small donations. And for a long time, I struggled to think about what I could do on Patreon to provide you enough value. I'm not one to, ask for much help to my own detriment. And it's something that I am trying to get better at. But I run this channel completely alone. I do the camera work, I do the animations, I do the voiceover, I do the editing. And I think I have grown enough to be able to feel comfortable to produce a Patreon. And because I wanted to add value, there are two tiers. There's a $5 tier to where, you're basically buying me a cup of coffee. And I appreciate that. Thank you, honestly. And then there is a second tier where I'm able to offer a bit more value than what I am on the YouTube page. So what I am starting is the Patreon book series. It is a space where I just talk about gardening. I go through a book. There will be about a chapter or two every single week. And I go through a nice summary. It's certainly not an audio book by any chance, but I go through a summary of every chapter. And then I try to relate that information to what we can actually understand, because I'm no scientist. scientist, and I don't think you are either. So let's take a step back and kind of break this down further. So for $12 a month, you will receive a weekly class, based on whatever book that you choose. For this first one, I'm going with an old book that I had called Teaming with Microbes, where we're going to learn about the soil food web. It's already very insightful. I'm already having tons of thoughts about things I need to change about my soil, but hopefully you get those same type of feelings because this class is for you, the viewer. I certainly appreciate anybody who is just watching the YouTube channel, but if you can, and if you are willing to donate, I would certainly appreciate it, and so would the garden. So with that, I just wanted to pop in and introduce some things that I'm doing. So if you would like to get a copy of ABCs in the Garden, of course, there is a link in the bottom. You could go on Amazon and you could type in ABCs in the Garden, or you could type in PGH Home Garden, and it should just pop up. So until next time, I'll be here thinking about you.